What up, this is Rama Screen covering movies, TV, and entertainment, and here's my review of The Final Year. Let's rock this. Director Greg Baker's documentary The Final Year gives you a moving and intimate look at an administration doing everything it can before the clock runs out. It's a window into the inner workings of the White House and the West Wing back when the adults run the place. And for those of you who dislike Donald Trump's presidency, this documentary will definitely make you wish that Obama had still been the one leading the country. But this documentary also makes me feel sad because not so much, oh, I miss the Obama administration, but more of, where did it all go wrong that we now have Trump's administration? What Greg Baker focuses on in this documentary is very simple. It focuses on President Barack Obama's foreign policy team, specifically U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Samantha Power, Deputy Advisor Ben Rhodes, and Secretary of State John Kerry during their last year in office before they leave power after 8 years. First of all, let's note how impressive it is, the amount of access that Greg Baker and his team were allowed to have. I bet you the other press or the other filmmakers were very envious at the exclusivity that Greg Baker's team got to enjoy. They even were allowed to document the staff's personal moments with their loved ones and their family members. Well, clearly it's all done in a good light. Nothing that would suggest trouble in paradise. But if the goal was to show that these powerful, influential people at the core of it are just humans like you and me with their own typical family situations despite their big jobs, then that is exactly what you'll get to see here in The Final Year. Another thing that this documentary gives us a view of is an understanding of how complex and complicated these jobs are, to the point where you may be watching this documentary and start wondering, man, these guys are spreading themselves too thin. Secretary of State John Kerry has to juggle between Syria issues and Iran issues, and then US Ambassador to the United Nations Samantha Power has to travel all over the world, even to the most remote places, and then somehow find time to make a speech at a US citizenship oath event. The same goes with Ben Rhodes, who is consistently busy trying to come up with the right speeches, the right wording for President Obama to say at international events. So watching them do what they do, you can't help but wonder, man, how much Red Bull or caffeine intake do they get on a daily basis just to keep themselves on, because they are juggling so much. You might say, hey Rama, that is their job description. It entails that much. But an argument can also be made that this is the burden that comes with the fact that the whole world is looking to us for leadership. Every country is depending on us to broker a deal or to rescue them. So many issues depend on the United States being the deciding factor. So keep in mind that this documentary is mostly about Obama's foreign policies, not his domestic ones. This is a look at Obama not necessarily as the commander-in-chief, but mostly as the leader of the free world and the burdens that come with that. Which leads me to my last point. Because this documentary shows Obama administration's final year, hence the title, the documentary also shows the nervousness that the staff, specifically Ben Rhodes, was feeling as it was nearing the election. He really wanted Hillary to win, and he told himself that, but you can tell he was also partly nervous at the prospect of Trump winning instead. So when that did happen, it hit them like a brick wall because their expectations was so high for Hillary. It's like when you get your hopes up, you get super excited for your team to win, but then they lose, and because you were in such a high, the disappointment feels so tremendous. The disappointment feels devastating for you. And so while this documentary does show the important and diligent work of Ben Rhodes, Samantha Power, and John Kerry, the facts on the ground remains, and that is The Democratic Party lost about 1,000 seats under Obama, and the Rust Belt electoral voters, many of whom voted for Obama in the previous elections, they ended up deciding to vote for Trump in 2016 instead of Hillary. So perhaps either the Obama administration was too focused on foreign policies, as this documentary shows, or they were stuck in their bubble, that they were not aware of the suffering and the struggle of middle America. Which is why I said this documentary makes me feel sad. It is saddening because here you have a bunch of smart, great folks doing excellent work, like the Iran deal, for example, and yet the voters at home would rather roll the dice and gamble on a fake populist. So that should say something about the Obama administration. You can argue, hey Rama, you can only do so much in 8 years. You can't please everybody. Well, be that as it may, just like actions have consequences, inaction or lack of action has its consequences too. There's a scene in which Ben Rhodes tells himself, after Trump won, in order to keep himself from feeling hopeless, he tells himself, well, the pendulum swings this way and then comes back to center again. Well, that's nice and all, but it's also an irresponsible comment because while the pendulum swings this direction, it is us, the regular folks, who have to suffer through all the disastrous policies that Trump applies. Some of the damages may be irreparable. The pendulum illustration is only comforting for those who don't live paycheck to paycheck because they are economically fine. So to conclude, if you're wondering if the final year has an agenda, or maybe Greg Baker just point and shoot the camera and whatever happens, happens, the final year is both a display of wise, compassionate, but firm leadership, and also a cautionary tale that if you are taking on too much, some things may be neglected. What can you accomplish when you're literally racing against the clock? When your decisions affect other people's lives? If there's anything that could be taken away from this, is that there should be a balancing act on the part of any administration. A positive, healthy, and prosperous balancing act. So that's my review of the final year. Share your thoughts in the comment section below and share this video with all your friends on the YouTube verse. And please subscribe to my channel. This video is made possible thanks to your support on Patreon. So go to patreon.com/ramascreen, sign up there today, and become my patrons. Let's rock this.